Calibrating cybernetics.
Talk to him now.
AT, Andre.
Come on, Dre.
Yep. Tripping with Let's Go. Woo! Tripping with Theo Bold.
What's your name?
Theo so bold.
Yeah.
Driggity. Let's go. Tripping with Theo Bold. Tripping.
What are we doing?
Tripping with Theo Bold.
Come on, Dre.
Yo, mic check 1 2. We on. Hey, people. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Tripping with Theo Bold. I'm your host, Andre Theo Bold. Welcome to the show. Glad y'all could tune in. Before we go any further, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff like the old people say. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media, so follow me. All right, we're gonna get right into it, man. Today we're gonna discuss a Netflix series that caught me by surprise called Adolescence. It's a British it's a British film. It's filmed in the UK. It's 4 episodes. I think it's a Netflix original, whatever that means. But it's 4 episodes long. And man, the first episode just grabbed me and said, "You're not going nowhere." It's like, you're not going nowhere. You're not. You're going to watch this to the end. That's what it literally did. You know, it was great. So when I did some more research on the series, I found out that it was a single take approach, you know? So basically it was kind of like, how should I put it? It was single cam. Let me address this right quick, right? So in the cinematic world, you know, I feel like terms get overloaded. You know, it's kind of like, it's more art than it is science. You know, it's not about being exact, you know? And I feel like, you know, when you hear single cam, multicam, people have the illusion that, oh, it's only shot this way or that way. And really it's like more artistic than that, you know? This was single cam, no cuts, following everybody around, you know? So that's what made it impressive, right? So it's kind of like, it was almost like, I guess if you had to kind of give it an analogy, it was kind of like preparing for a football game, right? Like people got their scripts, you know, they read, they rehearsed, then they basically had run-throughs where they ran through their script. They probably had blocking and people with the cameras coming through, and then they probably ran it a few times, and then they say, go, and we just shooting. We not stopping. Like this, like, you know, we just gonna keep going. You know, so it kind of had that effect. Basically what happened is you would have, I'm talking about the cinematography a little bit, because that to me is something that was different about this series, is you had a person acting, or you had 2 people acting, and then the camera would follow the next person, right? So for example, it was kind of like a relay race, right? Like you had 2 people in a scene, then one person went to go address something, then they would leave, and the camera would follow that person to the next scene, to where there were people or a group of people, you know, and then there may have been a noise or something, right? And then the camera went to the noise, and then it went to the person around the noise, and then it would they would focus on that person. So it's almost like, it was kind of like being like a fly, like being a fly on the wall, right? Like you're just buzzing around and you're just watching things as they transpire, you know? Not gonna lie, it made me like a little dizzy watching it, because it's like it's always like movement, you know, or it's movement, then it kind of stops. Then it's, oh, what's over here? Let's go there. And then it was, oh, okay, people. Let's look at these people. Okay, this person is leaving. Let's follow this. Like, it had that fly effect to it, you know, or fly on the wall effect, as I should say. The acting was superb, you know, like, yeah, they casted it well. I felt like the character depth was good. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's been out for 2 weeks. I'm not sure if I should even call these spoiler alerts, you know. Um, the milk is going bad, you know. So I'm talking about the whole movie, all spoilers. If you know you want to keep watching, keep watching. If not, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm talking about this because it's been out for 2 weeks. Y'all should have seen it by now. So here it is. Okay, boom. So episode 1, right? The first episode, like, just grabs your attention, right? It starts off with the raid, right? Basically, it starts off with the black cop and the white female cop, and they're outside talking, and it gives the appearance that they're just kind of following up on a lead, but no, they did their homework, they did their research, they organized a SWAT to go kick in the door of this house to go snatch up this boy, you know. So they're sitting there talking as if they have all the information. They're just kind of crossing their T's and dotting their I's, and they're just getting ready for the SWAT to go run in. Then all of a sudden, you go to the police people, it goes to the SWAT team, and they got to the battering ram, and they kick down the door, and they run in, and then this is your first view of the family, you know. Mom is crying, daughter's crying, father is like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, yo, I didn't do anything, what's going on? Then they get to the boy's room, and then the boy is in his bed, and he's like, what the hell just happened, you know? And he even has pee on himself, like he was so scared he pissed himself, you know. So they arrest the boy, take him down to the station, you know. And then you get to really see how the British conduct law. You know, it's very different than how we conduct law here. It's like it's like they really look after the citizens of the country, you know. Like, they kind of have like an external third party person that's kind of coaching the person that got arrested. And that was interesting, right? Like, when I was in the UK, when I went to visit, when I was in Scotland, I saw somebody get arrested. And to me, it was so funny because, like, I'm not going to say there are no handcuffs, but basically it's like they give you the option to just kind of submit, you know, and to give yourself up. So it's like they just kind of keep their hands together, but there's no handcuffs on them, you know? So that to me was kind of interesting. So when I saw the scene, it kind of took me back to when I was in Scotland, when I saw a guy get arrested. And I'm like, yo, this is weird. Like, you had the cop just grab the dude's hands with, like, it's like, hey, man, you caught, you know, we got you. Like, just, you know, and it wasn't even a fight back. It was just kind of more like a formality, you know. But anyways, they got the boy, they put him in the van, and then they drove him down to the station, and then he was being introduced to, like, all of the people around. Like, you had like a lawyer, then you had like all these different people that were kind of like looking after his interests outside of the law. You know, that to me was very fascinating. I don't know if it's like that for black people over in the UK or not, but that's something I've never seen before. But anyways, they get down to the station, and then you're thinking then you kind of learn, okay, there's been a murder, and the boy's been suspected of a murder of a classmate. And in the back of your mind, you're hoping that it's not him, because the boy looks innocent. He looks like he's harmless, you know. And you know, basically the end of the scene is, you know, the father and the boy are in the interrogation room by themselves. Before they get to the interrogation room, like, they're asking for like blood samples and all these different things, you know. And his lawyer is present saying, hey, yeah, do this is going to help your case, or if it won't help your case. And there's a scene where the boy has to be strip searched because they're trying to look for like markings and scars on this boy. And the way my mind worked in this, like by the information that was given to me was, when they had to do a strip search of the boy, the father kind of got weird, right? It was kind of like, nah, he doesn't need to be strip searched. Like he was really adamant about, nah, you don't got to strip search my son. My son didn't do anything. It was almost like he was afraid of what he was going to see, and they didn't show the boy obviously, but they showed like the father, and the way he was reacting to me, it was an overreaction, because he was allowed to be present in the room while his son was being strip searched. So my first thought was, oh shit, this boy was molested. They're going to find something else out. This is going to be a deeper plot than what it is, than what's on the surface. But that wasn't the case. It was just, he was overprotective of his son. Now, if the boy was going into a room with some strangers that the dad didn't know, I could see the dad acting that way. But the fact that the dad was in the room and everyone else had their back turned, but he could watch his son be strip searched, I was thinking to myself, okay, he's hoping that he doesn't see any bruises on this boy because he might get accused of abuse of some sort, Anyways, nothing happened or whatever. Then they move on. Then they get into the interrogation room, and the black cop and the white female cop, like they knew they had the person. Like they just were like, nah, this is it, And the lawyer was like, yeah, they have pretty, damning evidence against your son, but we're gonna work through it, So long story short, the end of episode 1, the boy denies it, and then they have like this high-tech footage where they capture everything, and they show the video clip on a laptop of the boy murdering this classmate of his, and the father can't, like, he's like, he can't believe it, and before they even show that, the father asked the boy, hey, did you do anything? If you did, let me know. Just tell me right now, like no matter what. And the boy looked his father in the face and said, nah, I ain't do it. They had the video footage of it. He did it, So then we move on to episode 2. And then episode 2 is about the investigation, right? Like, or not about the investigation. It's about determining the motive as to why the boy killed this classmate of his, why he killed this girl, so you learn about the black cop's son, right? The black cop has a son at the school because he has to call his son to let him know that, hey, look, I'm going to be here, conducting my investigation. Just want to give you a heads up that I'm going to be here. Then you see that the black cop's son is kind of like getting bullied. He's kind of not kind of getting bullied. He's getting bullied. Like he's like a chump in the school, like people throwing trash on his plate, pushing him around, but he knows what's going on. He's kind of like I don't want to say the moral compass, but he kind of is like, he's more aware of what's going on in the school than the cops are, So they conduct all these, so that they're trying to find, so the black cop is trying to find a motive as to why why this boy committed this murder, Then all of a sudden the boy or the black cop's son was like, yo, I gotta talk to you. Like, you're making yourself look like you're embarrassing yourself. It's really like, it's not that complicated. I'll show you. Let me just talk to me for a second. Right. So they shot that in a way to show you the disconnect between the boy and his father and the father and just what goes on in today's society in schools. So this is where all that blue pill, red pill, 80% rule, 80-20 rule came up, right? And the father was like, he didn't know anything about this. He's like, yo, what is all this stuff you're talking about? It sounds silly, So it kind of alludes to the fact that, the girl that was murdered was bullying or was cyberbullying the boy that killed her, So Doesn't justify it. Like, that's not like, there's never a reason to kill anybody. But the whole episode 2 was about, uncovering the fact that, oh, this girl did something. Like, it wasn't like she was just minding her business. Like, she actually was like cyberbullying this dude, right? And this is where all the incel talk came up at, 80/20 rule. And I'm going to go into it further after I give the full synopsis of, or just give kind of what each episode was about. Episode 3, basically what happened is they jump like 13 months in the future, and they show this, they showed a boy that got arrested, or that killed a girl in like a mental facility, right? For like the youth. It kind of looks like a school, but it's not, because the guards have on these like vests, and they have to escort the students everywhere. And the psychologist, man, she was a dope actress in this, man. She went through like pretty much all the ranges of acting, but this episode was just a conversation between the psychologist and the boy that killed his classmate. I'm gonna come back and touch on like what exactly happened, but that to me was probably like the episode that drove the point home furthest, right? Like, that's the one that really pushed the series, or pushed the episode in a certain direction. And then episode 4 is really, it focuses on the father. It's his birthday, and then, he's reminded that his son is still in this facility, and the wife wants him to move, or wants him to move the family. The family's being bullied. The father's van, he has his own business. He's like a plumber, and some kids or some vandals spray painted his van, to make fun of this case that is now blown up in the media. You see the relationship between the mother and the daughter, and then you see the relationship between the husband and the wife, and a lot of key points, a lot of key things, right? So I just kind of gave you a bird's eye view of what this whole thing is about. The end of episode 4, the son basically accepts his position and is like, you know what? I'm not going to push for insanity, or like mental. I'm not going to push for like temporary insanity. I'm going to just basically do my time, right? And that was like on the father's birthday, which was harsh. So anyways, the series was dope, man. Like, it basically hit on a lot of key things, right? I feel like this should be the purpose of film, right? Like, this was a good learning experience. Sit down, have a conversation with friends and family about this, because it hits on so many different things. It's a great conversational starter, or a great conversational piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and go deeper into like, episode 2, where, or start off there, because the black cop's son basically was kind of the voice of reason, right? He was like the voice of reason of modern society, right? Of today's society, He basically was asking his dad if he was aware of what does blue pill, red pill mean, if you guys know, those are all communities, right? So red pill essentially means, he broke it down his way, but I'm going to give you like how I learned it, right? So red pill means that you're aware of female nature, and you accept female nature for what it is. You don't try to change it. You realize that women are hypergamous. They're going to, for whatever reason, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you just accept it. So therefore, if you're red pill, typically you just date around, and that women are women, and you don't really commit to a woman. I'm not saying I subscribe to that. I'm just giving you the definition of what it is, or what those communities, how they define red pill, blue pill, right? Then blue pill means that you are unaware of female nature, right? So you don't even know what it means. You're oblivious to the fact that you're oblivious to the fact that there even is such a thing as female nature, you know? So um blue pill guys don't know that they blue pill, right? Red pill guys know that they red pill and they're aware of blue pill guys, you know? And then they get there's purple pill community. I'm not gonna get into all that because that's not the purpose of, but I'm just letting you know that there's a community where all these things are being discussed, right? And then the 80-20 rule is basically 80% of the women, of all women, are attracted to only 20% of the men. So if you're not part of that 20%, you know, you're just not part of that 20%, you know? And then incel means that you're involuntary celibacy, or right, it means involuntarily celibate, meaning that you don't get ass because you can't get ass. That's what it basically means, right? So um you take all this, so basically he explains all this to his father, not in my terms, but he explains this to his father, and his father's kind of like, you see that there's a gap between the black cops and the black sons. You see there's a gap between the black cop and his son, right? The son is like, yo, I can help you out. I can help you understand why he did what he did. I don't condone it. I don't agree with him or whatever, but there's more. If you're looking for a motive, I can give you why things, or I can give you a piece of the puzzle as to why he may have did what he did, you know? And then they go back and they look at the boys' social media, and you see this girl basically was making comments saying that, oh, he's never gonna get ass, he's an incel, and then it got like thousands of likes or whatever, and people were laughing at this boy, right? So he was being ridiculed for being an incel and being not part of the 20%, you know? So that kind of sums up, that's the gist of episode 2. Episode 3, this is where the psychologist is interviewing the boy that murdered his classmate. And this basically, a lot of things happen. Like, you have to pay attention to the symbology and the things, right? But she basically, that this is not her first visit with the boy, right? Because she knows that he likes hot chocolate. So she goes and brings him a hot chocolate, and a sandwich, and when the episode starts, the boy and the psychologist are not aware that this is going to be their last meeting, right? This is the last time they're ever going to speak, right? They're under the assumption that, they have 2 more sessions, or however many more sessions there are. So this episode was, it kind of reminded me of the Menendez brothers series, where there was the episode between the lawyer and one of the Menendez brothers, where it's just dialogue. It's just 2 people having a conversation. And in this conversation, the boy gets a temper and smacks the cup of hot chocolate away or whatever, because he senses that the psychologist is playing the head game with him, and is trying to get him to admit what he did, and what she's doing is she's trying to gauge if he understands what even happened. She's trying to understand if there's a line in there that's pretty funny. It's like, oh, so you want to get an understanding of my understanding, right? It's kind of like a funny thing they do, but she basically is trying to gauge whether he knows the difference between life and death, and does he even get that, and what is revealed in this episode is the fact that, one, he doesn't have any respect for his father. His father is like a macho dude and is very intimidating, but he has no respect for his father. That's what we established in this episode. because he brings up the whole thing about being at a soccer game and how he's terrible at soccer, and all the boys and the boys' fathers make fun of him because he's so terrible, and they had to put him at goalie, and he even sucks at being goalie. So the father turns his back and doesn't watch his son play because he's so ashamed of his son and how bad he is at soccer, that the son is like, yo, I don't have any respect for this dude. He can't even look me in the face while I'm trying to succeed. So that's one thing we establish, is that he has no respect for his father. Another thing we establish is, where he feels he ranks at in this 80-20 situation, right? He feels like he's not in the 20%. He feels like he's ugly, you know? We know that he's attracted to girls, and we also get that, he's trying to be slick, because he basically lies and plays games with the psychologist, but then double backs and says, yeah, nah, I was just playing about that, or I was just lying about that, you know? And then we're also made aware that, social media is having a huge impact on this boy's life, So when he loses it, he loses it because the psychologist got him to admit that, he basically killed or offed his classmate. And then he realized what he said, and he's like, oh, you got in my head, you messed with me, you're like, you tricked me or whatever, So he feels like intimidated by that. And then, you see like the wide range of emotions of the psychologist, right? Long story short, based upon her evaluation, she's like, nah, this dude is a lost cause. The boy's a lost cause. He needs to get help. He needs to get mental help. And she advised him to get mental help and says, hey, this is going to be our last meeting. And then she calls for the guard. The guard comes in. And then the boy asks, hey, like, do you like me? Do you think that I'm a bad person? Or like, do you like me or whatever? And then she wouldn't answer. And then the guard carries the boy away. The boy has a temper tantrum, slams the door or whatever, and he's banging on the windows and stuff. And then you see the reaction of the psychologist, right? And you see all these ranges of emotions. Like for a minute, she's like scared. She's like shook. Then she's like sad, like about to cry. Then you see her kind of like laugh a little bit, like kind of like chuckle, and they don't, and I like how they shot this because they're not telling you what opinion to have. They're just saying, okay, she had this reaction. What conversations can you have based on her reaction, right? So from her reaction, from how she responded, a lot of different things came in my head, right? Like first I was thinking to myself, the reason why she acted the way she did was because or the reason she reacted the way that she did was because she realizes that she's lucky that she's not part of this generation, because she may have been a pretty girl that was favored back in her day, and she had boys that she dealt with that were going through adolescence and becoming a teenager, that she felt the same way that the girl probably felt. But then she realizes that with social media and with everyone, with her expressing her ideas to social media, or if she had that avenue to express her ideas to social media and have people jump on and then agree with her to laugh and mock and make fun of the boy that was trying to pursue this girl, that could have been her. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, yo, it's almost like she's saying, like, one interpretation I got was, yo, this boy is really not crazy. It's when you're dealing with adolescence, and then now you throw in the dynamic of the father or the parents being so out of tune with their son, and social media mixing in and bullying it and dumping on this person. She may have come to the conclusion that, yo, this boy acted, like a normal, sane teenager would have, So what don't we have around like, what don't we have around in our society or system that can help boys navigate through all this? You know what I mean? So that's one interpretation I got from it, from the reaction of the psychologist. Another reaction was, you know, or another possible interpretation I got was, hey, you know, this boy really doesn't understand what he did, because when she asked him, like, do you know the difference between life and death, and that the fact that she's not coming back ever again, the boy just went to eat the sandwich like nothing happened. Like he was in his own little world eating a sandwich. And she was just staring at him. So, lots of different takes on it. It could have been that, she felt like, like we all agree that the girl, like, no one deserves to die in that situation. Like no one, like, that's not a reason to kill somebody, or to unalive somebody, right? That's never a reason for that. But it's like, given certain circumstances, and you put people in certain situations, people can snap, and not realize that they snap, you know? So yeah, so that second episode was very deep, and then the boy even went into saying, like, how the girl made fun of him and then bullied him. But then another student, I think, got a picture of her breast and passed it around. So everyone was kind of making fun of the girl or whatever, and she was at a low point. So he was like, well, hey, look, if I like this girl and she's at a low point, now's my opportunity to try to pursue her, because now she's more down to my level. And then when he asked her out to go to the fair or the carnival or whatever it was, she was like, ill, no, and then said what she said, and then you had the reaction that you had. Episode 4 to me kind of like sums everything up. It kind of puts things into like a bow, where you see that the father has a temper, but he doesn't take his anger out on people per se. Like he's very aware of not being, he's very aware of not taking his anger out on people, because his father was abusive to him, or perceived as being abusive to him, and was very physical, right? So he always was like, look, I'm never going to be my father. That was his whole, you kind of see like, oh, this is not who this is not who he wanted to become. So then there are two scenes to me that are just like, that just kind of sum everything up, perfectly. One, you see the daughter having a conversation with her mother, and me and my girl were watching it, and I was like, yo, do you notice like what they're doing here? And she was like, no, what am I missing? And it was just so, to me, it was like intentionally done. But you're seeing the daughter having a conversation with her mother about her relationship with her boyfriend. And they're talking about, that's one thing that we see that we haven't seen with any other character in the series at all, at any point, So basically, with Adolescence, there was, this whole understanding of just communicating and just having communication and dialogue between, child and parent, Then the second thing we saw was, you saw the mom and the dad, or the wife and the husband, like wondering where they went wrong with their son, right? They were like, yo, what do we do, man? We gave him everything. He went to his room. He was quiet. He didn't bother anybody, my dad beat up on me, and I said I would never do that to my son, and where did we go wrong? And the key line that the father said was, my dad beat up on me or was abusive toward, it wasn't, I'm paraphrasing, by the way. He said, my father was abusive towards me, and look at how I turned out. Right. So at the end of the day, some takeaways that I got from this, right? Some takeaways I got from all this. basically is and I've been thinking this and saying this for the longest time. You know, you gotta beat your kid ass, man. You gotta whoop your kid ass, man. We gotta bring back whoopings. You know, like in my household, I got whoopings. I got whooped by my mom, and I got slap ups from my dad. 'Cause my dad from the Caribbean, right? And they call them slap ups. That and my dad used to, as they say in the Caribbean, he used to cut my backside. He'd be like, "Jay, your ass is grass, and I'm the lawnmower, and I'm cutting it." Right? Long story short, I had fear of my parents in the household. You know, the boy didn't fear his parents in the household, right? And you see that because when the boy went to the police station, and his father looked him in the eye and said, "Look, did you do this? Did you do these things?" He looked his father right in the eye. I don't know why my voice got high, but he looked his father right in the eye and was like, "No, I didn't do it." You know, so that was that's a lack of respect. And the reason why you gotta like have fear, why your kids have to fear you in your household, is because when they go out in the real world and think about even doing what he did, there's gonna be the reaction of, "Oh shit, if I do this, my parents are gonna kill me when I get home," right? Like I was petrified of, like, I knew, like in my household, like I had a whole different level of fear. Like my shit was, I had to watch my attitude. Like I got whooped over my attitude. That's what I got whoopings for. I got whooped because I had an attitude about something. It wasn't necessarily like if I knew I messed up, if they knew I messed up and they knew like where I went wrong, they would let me soak in that fear, and that fear was enough for me to be like, yeah, don't do that shit again, you know. But I got whooped over my attitude. That's what I got, right? So I was always constantly checking my attitude to make sure that I appeared like I was okay with everything, you know. And then if I looked like I had an attitude and I got slapped up, nigga, that was it. But end of the day, long story short is, you know, I'm not saying this is the only thing, but one of the problems I think with today's society is you got to bring back whoopings, and this is why you need to whoop your kid ass, yo, when they do when they're getting out of line, right? My dad has this saying, "You must learn to bend the tree when it is young, because when it grows too old and too crooked, you got to chop it down, right? It's too late." Right? So I think we see like the effects of not having your kids fear you in the house. That was the first thing. Number two is parents got to stop lying to their kids, man. You got to stop lying to your kids, yo. Like all these Disney movies and fantasy fairy tale bullshit movies, man, we got to cut this shit out, man. Valentine's Day, all that shit. That shit is that's just all that's doing is giving hope to a hopeless situation. At the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, I gotta watch what I say, but I'm just gonna talk free, whatever. At the end of the day, we all like the 80-20 shit is real, right? The 80-20 rule is real. And the sooner boys learn that shit, the easier life is gonna be for them. You know what I'm saying? Boys need to learn how to they need to learn how to observe if they've been chosen by a woman. That's what's not being taught, right? No one taught me that shit. You know, I just recently figured out what that shit even looks like, you know. But if you're not being chose, man, you gotta keep shit moving, man. You gotta keep it pushing, man, because that Valentine's Day shit messes kids up in the head, man. You know, like here it is, you're just going to class, enjoying yourself, playing with friends, making friends, and then you have this holiday where you're supposed to just get up and go buy chicks candy and some cards, you know, and just pass them out to all the girls in the class, and hopefully one of them will like you. Nah, that's very damning for young boys, because now they grow up thinking that they can make now they grow up thinking that they can make women like them, and they can't. Like females like who they like, and you just have to accept it. It's kind of like the way I look at it is, I remember when I was playing on the basketball team, like I didn't realize like I was short. You know, I know some of y'all see my voice. I got a deeper voice, but I'm not that tall. I'm probably 5'5", if that. But that's besides the point. I remember when I was playing basketball one day while I made the team in high school, and I remember being in the huddle with my teammates, and they're all hunched over, looking down at the coach who's on like one knee, like drawing up a play, and I'm standing up with no hands on my knees, and I'm like, oh, these niggas is all taller than me, and we the same age. I didn't know that was even a thing, you know. So getting mad over not being in the 20% is like being mad about being short. It's like you can't control that shit. You know what I'm saying? So the sooner, you know, young boys have these conversations with their parents, you know, and parents stop lying to them about, oh, well, yeah, you can be someone's prince in shining armor and knight in shining armor, and you can go off and all you got to do is just keep being persistent. No, stop. Just take a step back and observe. If no one's looking your way, they ain't looking your way, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And we're not taught that, and that to me is something that needs to be talked about with today's youth. And you have to talk to the youth about that today, because you got social media, right? You got your parents up here lying to you, like, you know, trying to make you watch Disney movies and believe in some hopeful Ronald McDonald rainbow bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's like social media is the mirror of society. So as the great Richard Pryor said, you know, who you gonna trust, me or your lying eyes? You know, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be honest with your kids, man. You know, like, nigga, like back when I was in 8th grade, man, all I needed was someone to sit down and say, look, nigga, you 5 foot, like you barely 5'3", you black, you dark skinned, you probably gonna lose your hairline, you know, before the age of 23. And you gotta stutter, nigga. You know, you're not gonna be people's first pick, you know, but you can sit back and observe to know when someone's chosen you. But if someone ain't choosing you, nigga, don't go down that path, man, because you're just gonna make yourself crazy. And I'm gonna have a whole another episode on that where I'm gonna talk about 80-20 rule, all that shit, my personal experiences. But anyways, that's what it is, right? You need parents that stop lying to their kids about reality, because social media is gonna show them what reality is. And then 3, you know, you gotta introduce fear into your kids at a young age, because if your kids don't fear you, you can't guide them onto a path that keeps them from going down a path that you don't want them to go down, right? And I know a lot of parents, man, that have kids and they're like, oh yeah, I talk to my kid like an adult and I would never hit my kid and there's no reason to hit a kid. I'm like, hey man, best of luck to you. You know, I'm not telling people how to raise their kids, but this episode or this series kind of shows you, you know, the recipe for a disaster, you know? So that's why I highly commend the film. I think it's a dope, not film. That's why I highly recommend the series. It's highly praised in my book. I think I touched on all the points I wanted to touch on. I wanted to make sure I pay attention to, because I got to start doing this, because I'm in that writer space where I write, and you know, I'm in the entertainment space, right? So got to start paying attention to, you know, the creators and the writers and the directors, you know. So this series was created by Jack Thorne and Stephen Graham. It was written by Jack Thorne and Stephen Graham, so they both created it and they wrote it. And the director is a Philip Barantini, you know, Philip Barantini, I think, is the one that introduced this whole concept of how the cameras all kind of followed. I think he was in charge of the cinematography, right? I think that's the director's job, is they kind of oversee the cinematography. So the way it was directed was dope. Even though it made me a little dizzy, it was dope because it's like they're kind of like simulating real life, you know? So what are your thoughts? Put your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are. But yeah, I think I said all I wanted to say on that. It's a dope series. Go check it out. And without further ado, I'm out of here, folks. Peace. Yep. Tripping with Theo Bold.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Tripping. Yep. Tripping. Tripping. Tripping with Theo Bold.
Tripping with Theo Bold.